everyone. I'm Kaela Hansen, your co-host at the One Soccer Nation podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Abby Ostrem. Abby's currently playing with Åland United, which is a part of the top league in Finland called Kansalinen Liga. Abby, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, so let's start off with the first one I got for you. During your time at the University of South Dakota, you scored a game-winning goal that not only secured a victory for your team, but also earned a spot on the SportsCenter #SC Top 10. Looking back, how does that moment stand out in your career, both in terms of personal achievement and its impact on your team? And what did it mean to receive a national recognition for that play?
Yeah, that was really cool. Honestly, like I don't think about it very often, but like sometimes it'll like come up in the archives and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I did do that." And it's like when you shoot from far out like that or like, a cross goes in as a goal, people are always like, "Did you mean to shoot that?" And it's like, "Yeah,
You
that
say
was
yeah every
intended
time.
to be a shot." Um,
You say
Literally
yeah.
every
You
time.
say yeah every time, even if you
Um,
didn't mean it. You say yeah.
yeah. No, yeah. I'm not gonna tell you no, it was a cross because it went in the back of the net. So clearly it was a shot. Um, but yeah, honestly, that is like 8 years ago now. Like it was so long ago. It was one of the only goals that I scored in college, hashtag being a defender. So
I saw your stats. You scored
um
like two.
yeah, it was a cool moment. Um yeah, the other one was an Olimpico off of a corner.
More goals.
So that one was intended to be a shot too.
More goals than
But
me
yeah,
though.
the picture of that moment actually, I'm weak. Yeah, bro, both of us are defenders. That's why. But the picture of that moment went up in like the like hallway of pictures in South Dakota. So that was really cool to like be able to walk by and like see that as I was going to the weight room every day. Um but yeah, now that I'm playing pro, I very seldom think about my experiences in college. Like it definitely did like help shape me into the player that I am now. But it honestly now feels like a drop in the bucket compared to like the rest of my soccer journey at this point.
Mhm. It's so important to look back at the amazing things you did. I rewatched that goal too. I was like, dang, Gabby. When I was looking up stuff about you. Okay, moving on.
uh,
Competing in the Champions League qualifiers with Spartak Subotica is a
what it's
significant achievement. What was that experience like, and how did it feel to make it to the second round by beating Coops? That's my team
big
now.
dubs, big dubs. Honestly, that has still been like the highlight of my professional career so far. I think it's not something that a lot of people get to say that they got to play in Champions League. Like it's still, and probably will be for a long time, like one of my biggest accomplishments. And just a super, super cool experience to get to the second round, to be able to like make history with that club and have it be the first time that they made it past the first round of Champions League. And just super cool to play against a really good FC Rosengård side that had a lot of a lot of big famous names on the Swedish national team, and to be able to compete against really well-known players. Yeah, it was very cool.
Little known fact for the listeners, me and Abby were on the same team when we were on Spartak, and we got to experience that together. So that's also really
Yeah,
amazing. And we completely got ate up
yeah.
by Rosengård,
Oh,
but it was still a really good experience and one to remember for.
honestly, the first game wasn't that bad though. It
No, it
was just the
wasn't.
second
We
game
actually
that
could
They
We could
gotta
have
stay
won
up there.
that game. We easily could have won
We
that game.
absolutely could have won that game.
But then they decided to level up and be like, okay, we're Rosengård. And then
Yeah.
completely destroy us the
We were
next.
just playing around with you the first time,
Yeah, we
but
were just messing.
since you thought you were still in the game, we'll really show you now.
Man, if Zoom had the capability to pull up the photo where when we won against Coops and I'm completely tossing you. Do you know what photo I'm thinking of? I
Yes,
probably
bro.
would
You were
post it on
you
my
were
Instagram.
crying real tears out of your eyes.
Literally.
Honestly, so was everybody else though.
Pardon?
So was everybody else though.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Your journey from playing collegiate soccer in the US to turning professional in Europe has spanned in multiple countries so far, including Serbia and now Finland. How did going from the grassroots level to your time at the University of South Dakota prepare you for the challenges of European professional soccer, both in terms of skill development and mindset?
Um, I think something that at least both of us know is that playing college soccer in the States is literally a whole different beast. Like it mentally prepares you for some of the like hardest things that you can see in the game of soccer, whether that be not playing, lots of competition, um, bad coaching, whether that's tactically or just the way that they treat their players. Like you really see it all in college soccer. And I was definitely blessed to have a really good college experience in terms of I went to a mid-major D1, and so I made that decision for the sake of being able to play. Because I didn't go into like I went to my mid-major D1 thinking like I'm just gonna play my 4 years and be done and go on with my future. Um, but then I took my COVID year and I was like, maybe I don't really want to be done with soccer. And so then I like made the decision super late that I actually wanted to play pro. And so I actually didn't really spend a lot of time and didn't have very many connections
Hmm.
before I started my pro process. So my pro process was like longer than one would hope for. Like I didn't sign my first pro contract until maybe like 2.5 year, maybe 2 years, after at least two full seasons after being done with college soccer. Um, and so I I played for really good um grassroots clubs growing up. I didn't grow up in Texas completely, but I moved to Texas before high school, and was able to play for Dallas Texans and FC Dallas. And I grew like so much as a player in my last couple of years, playing for FC Dallas, and got the opportunity to play D1 soccer and grew a lot as both a person and a player, during my 5 years of college. And so I would really say like my experiences and like the adversity that I had to face both in club soccer, like moving to a soccer giant like Texas from like smaller states that I lived in before. Like it took me a really long time to adapt to the level of soccer that was being played in Texas. Which is really why I ended up playing at a mid-major D1 was because it took me probably 6 months to a year to even catch up to the level that the other girls were at. And so I didn't really like start playing until like my junior, senior year. And that was at the point in time where girls were committing to college in eighth grade. So I was very much behind the ball, but still ended up creating like a good situation for myself and having a really good experience in college, being able to play a lot of minutes, a lot of games, having a big role on my team. But I would say that definitely like the mental aspect of then having to come overseas and play pro was what has helped me the most, because the grittiness and the hard work and just like the mental toughness that you have to develop
Hmm.
playing college soccer in the States is something that will really set you apart playing overseas. And like ultimately, like you're also so far from home, big time difference from all of your loved ones. So
Hmm.
it's also just being able to create a new community for yourself, like you had to when you went to college. That is also like something that has helped me is just finding people like close to me that I'm able to call like my new family when mine is across the world.
Hmm. You make me cry, bro. That had me kind of emotional a little bit. But like, like you like basically show that like, not everyone is gonna get the timeline or, the pathway they want to get to where they want to be. Like there's different pathways. And like just through your story, you've shown like regardless of where you were and how long it took, you still got to where you want to be. And knowing you now as a person and as a player and seeing where you are now is truly amazing. And it's truly amazing to watch you prosper into this beautiful soccer player and young woman, even though you're older than me,
Thanks,
but
girl.
it just honestly is it's very heartwarming and motivational, that, and it kind of shows that no matter like where you are in life or how late you start, or even if you have hiccups, you don't go right away, you'll still get to where you want to be with the right amount of hard work and, the mental aspect that you say of it. To touch on, going from America to overseas, there obviously is some cultural differences between Serbia and Finland. Um, how have you adapted both on and off the pitch to these new environments, and what has been the most rewarding challenges? And now that you're with Åland United, how has your experience in Finland differed from your time in Serbia, both on and off the field? You can be honest.
Hmm.
You can say how you
Oy.
feel.
Um,
We're a safe
so
surface.
honestly, the biggest thing that I've realized, and I've honestly realized this kind of recently, is that like we know it's just nice because we've played in the same places and the same league, so we like definitely like you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
That very obviously the league here is so much better. The resources are so much better. It's like I would like to say more professional, but at the same time, my club has struggled a little bit on the professionalism side. But what I realized is that the people that I had with me in Serbia like made the experience so much. And like because like having the language barrier is so difficult between myself and teammates, between anybody that is English speaking and their teammates where English is their second language.
Mhm.
And it just also then highlights how differently like cultures shape you and your life experiences in a different country shape you, because I would say that like America is very, very different from Finland. Um, and so yeah, like even though like there are so many things that are better about this league and about this experience, there were still good things about playing in Serbia. Like notably, like we've already talked about Champions League, like but otherwise, like I really don't look back on that,
Mhm.
even though like the level of the Serbian league is just like night and day from what it was like to play in the States.
Mhm.
Like I don't look back on it as like a waste of time or like even a bad
Mhm.
experience, because like having you there and having Ken's there just like made it so easy. Like um whereas here like I definitely have found my people as well. Like I do have people that I like don't need a social battery to be around. But at the same time, like most of the girls here, my team is an English speaking team. So it's like everybody does speak English. Everybody is able to for the most part hold a conversation, but it is like so mentally like draining and taxing to still hold a conversation in English with people who English isn't their first language. Um and I've like we talked about this when we were in Serbia, and it's even like more now, is like my English vocabulary is so bad right now because every time I'm like speaking in English, I'm having to use like the most simple English I know. And so all of my like my vocabulary is just very simple right now. So whenever I'm talking to my friends back home, I'm like having to pause for like 30 seconds trying to find a word that is like actually so simple. Um and I was talking to one of my friends last night, and it's not really like so much in the Finnish language, but since Åland, like the like language here is Swedish, that's what I hear the most. And in Swedish, they like speak in like, I don't know, like cadence, like I don't know if that's the right word, but like they go like high and low, like within their words, whereas Finnish is like very like monotone and like straight across. But my friend was telling me that last night that I'm like speaking and like the ups and downs, and I'm like, no, like that's actually the worst thing that you can tell me right now.
You're telling me I'm
um
not
okay, I
American?
answered like half of that question. What was I know. What was the first part of that question? I forgot.
It's just how you adapted both on and off the pitch to these new environments
Mm.
and what has been the most rewarding
Um,
challenges.
okay. I think the most rewarding part of playing this sport is always going to be like the people that you meet along the way. So I've made some really, really good friends. And honestly, this season has been very, very challenging. Have have went through just like a lot of um like team stuff, management stuff, just a lot of like unknowns and things that like being in like the States with consistency, like you just wouldn't experience.
Mhm.
But I think like that's where like the mental toughness that I had to learn growing up has kind of just pushed me to like continue to focus on myself and my own play. Um, and I did get out of this experience what I was wanting. I really came here wanting to like develop the attacking side of my game as a fullback. And I have been able to do that and will continue to be able to do that in these last 5 games that we have. Um, and so yeah, most rewarding has definitely been like the people that have like been there with me and been experiencing the same adversity. And just finding those people that you like don't really need to like explain yourself to, that just like understand what you're going through, whether it's they've had the same experiences already or can just like level with you in those moments.
Mhm. Yeah, one thing I want to kind of touch on that you mentioned is the language barrier because I do remember, I don't think people know, but the nice thing here and how privileged we realize we are is here like at least like everyone here in Finland speaks a lot more English. Like basically like
Mm-hmm.
at least everyone I met so far all speaks English and our coach like basically coaches in English. But when we were in Serbia, they were coaching in Serbian the whole entire time. But like the mental strength and capacity it actually takes to like because not only you want to feel like when you go to training, all you have to do is just you don't have to think, you just play with your feet.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were in Serbia, we genuinely had to use like our brains as well and think. And that was like a different kind of tiredness as well because we're constantly needing to ask what's going on or like someone didn't fill us in the loop. So we're confused on the drill or, the tactical aspect of what we're trying to do. So I mean, like, I feel like a
Mm-hmm.
big a big jump for both of us going from Serbia to Finland is just the fact that now I feel like we can actually play more to our capability because we're not constantly having to like think all the time. Like everyone more so speaks
Mm,
English and just, it really does show how privileged, we are in North America to, only have to worry about one language. But I just thought that was
yeah.
interesting what you said because it really does show like the cultural differences in different places and how big of a culture shock it is, especially when we're coming all the way from North America. Okay.
No, for sure.
The
Yeah, I
life.
actually forget like the times that, oh, sorry. I forget
Oh,
the
go
times that
ahead.
we would literally just be like
Hmm.
standing there as they're explaining the drill in Serbian, and then they would just pass the ball to us like we were supposed to know what was going on. I'm like, yeah, okay. And then get yelled at
Yeah.
for not making the pass they wanted me to make when I very clearly have no clue what you just said in Serbian.
And we laugh at it now because it's
But it's
funny,
okay.
but like in the moment, it's just like you just genuinely feel really stupid. And like, and in granted, like
No, yeah.
I understand like as well that we're going, into their country, so we're expected to, maybe learn some Serbian, which we did. We learned as much as we could, and I'm proud of us for that. I had a little bit
I
more
don't
time
remember any
there than
words.
I had a little bit more time there than you, so I definitely maybe
Yeah.
had more time to learn. But you picked up a lot too, and you really did try. I
Yeah.
mean, that's all you can do.
Jubilee.
Try your best. So, okay. Um, the life of a professional footballer often involves significant challenges. I know we touched on that a bit with like relocating to different countries and dealing with the pressures of performance and navigating team dynamics. Can you share and like maybe I know you like touched on this a bit, but dive deeper into how you developed mental resilience throughout your career so far?
Honestly, going back to Serbia, I had never had a coaching experience like that. And I think like as an athlete in general, we're taught so much to depend on external validation.
Hmm.
And so and like I had pretty much all of my life, whether it was through like literally being told that I'm doing a good job or just like the reward of getting playing time.
Hmm.
Um, so like the experience in Serbia of just literally being screamed at for no reason, just having your name Abby like just being screamed from the sideline with no explanation every 5 seconds. Um that experience, like one of the biggest things that I'll take out of that is being able to um develop internal validation for myself and not having to rely on my coaches praising me. Um that was like definitely the biggest hurdle that I think that I had faced in soccer since moving to Texas, because I moved to Texas from Arkansas, and before that lived in Alabama and Nebraska. So it's like the the level of soccer was like light years difference going to Texas. And I think it took like 6 months for like me to even like be able to like sign with the Dallas Texans, because like with those types of clubs, like you literally have to be like invited to be on the team.
Hmm.
Um and and then so like even with signing with that team, I was born in August, so I was that was like before like the true age, and so I was like technically playing up, like I should have been playing with the 2000s but was playing with the 99s. um and so like even after signing with that team, like I could count on not on two hands, but like I probably played less than a 90-minute game, like in like half a season. Like my minutes were like very minuscule, whereas like but like meanwhile I'm on the same team as girls that have like already committed to like Power 5 schools. And so like I'm just seeing like a big difference between my experience and like what it could be and what I could hope for it to be, but like wasn't getting the opportunity for it. And so that was, and like also had like a coaching experience that like almost brought me to the point of just like wanting to quit soccer altogether. And so like I hadn't had an experience in the game of soccer where like my my like confidence in myself
Mhm.
related to my game was questioned until I went to Serbia. Um and and yeah, so that was like, and then also like where creating a community for myself was so important because you and Ken's like helped me through that so much when I had like first gotten to Spartak and was basically thrown right into having no clue what was going on and being screamed at and having nothing explained to me and just being expected to know exactly what I was supposed to do. Um and and yeah, so like the old style male European way of coaching is definitely one of the um like tough mental adversity moments that I've experienced. But like also like being homesick, being having like an 8 hour time difference from like my loved ones is like I spend the majority of my day like talking to no one. Um and then it's like because like for most of the season my team practices in the afternoon, like I'm getting ready to go to practice and then that's when like my family is waking up, my friends are waking up. And so then like the only time that I get to like talk to my people for the most part is like at the end of my day. And so like definitely makes it difficult to just because like your community is like such a big part
Mhm.
of your life. And so to not be able to like legitimately like share like your experience with them and also not be able to like share like their experiences with you makes makes a big difference. And I would say that like the mental toughness to get through that, like I lived in like I lived in four different states before high school. Like I moved around a lot as a kid, and so I'm like I'm not new to having to make new friends and leave old friends behind and blah blah blah. And I've gotten really good at being a long distance friend. Like the phone works so well in terms of being able to maintain friendships even when you're not in the same place.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah,
To
I
kind of
think that answered it.
highlight some of the things you said, which I feel like are very important, is one, is sometimes you're not going to get the coach you wanted or, the coach you like and stuff like that. So it's important to, give yourself your own personal internal validation and, not rely, like obviously it's nice to hear when coaches, you know, praise you and stuff like that, but sometimes you're not always going to get that. So it's important to
Mm-hmm.
make sure you know your own value as a player and a person and know what you bring to the table, which is very important in keeping your confidence up. And also another thing you said too was us being far away from home. It's important to find like sort of a community we have here. So it really is important to be able to open yourself up to meeting new people here and finding kind of a community here as well. And aside from that, too, you also get a lot more alone time. So finding comfortability within yourself to just be on your own and do your own things a lot of the time too. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
do feel like Europe does teach you a lot about that stuff.
for
Okay.
sure.
Now that we're kind of reaching the end a little bit to our podcast, what final message would you like to share with our listeners, particularly those aspiring to become professional soccer players?
I would honestly just go back to like one of the first things that we talked about, and it's that not every journey has to look like the girl that played Power Five soccer, that was called up to youth national teams, that got to the NWSL straight out of college. Like everybody's journey is different and unique, and your journey is your journey. And like it doesn't need to be rushed. And just because it didn't work out straight out of college doesn't mean that there's not more opportunity for you out there. And like women's soccer, women's sports in general is becoming more and more recognized, and there's so many more resources and money going into it, that the opportunities are growing. I mean, we can see in the States there's a brand new league that has created so much opportunity for so many girls, probably both of us know. Um, and so yeah, I just say like don't be discouraged if your path and your journey doesn't like look like the girl next to you.
Hmm. That's lovely. That's beautiful. That made me smile. And I'm glad you touched on as well, just women in sports too, because that's really important to touch on. But Abby, thank you again for taking the time to be on the One Soccer Nation podcast with me. I
Thank
hope
you for
you
having me.
had a good conversation.
Oh, of course.
Okay. Pieces.